Hello there, welcome to Hellfire Tactics, a beginner's guide. I'm gearing this toward pretty fresh players that aren't at all experienced with the genre or Hellfire Tactics in particular. So I'm going to keep it pretty short and sweet, and let's get to it. Now I clicked training there. Highly recommend that you do a few training games before you jump in against human opponents. First thing you're going to do is choose who you're going to be, basically. You know, which archdemon do you want to play as? The significance here is always spelled out in front of you. There's going to be some sort of unique effect that is present throughout the fight. Let's go ahead and just pick maybe Silverbeak here. You know, all of these specific mechanics will make a lot more sense once you're a little more versed in the game, but so the first thing that happens in any match is you start in your first round buying phase. Now every round has two phases. There's going to be a buying phase and a battle phase. Always starts with the buying phase and then goes into a battle phase. Now why do they call this genre auto battler? Well, it's because in the battle phase you don't have any control over what's happening. It all happens automatically. You're just there to watch it happen. Now there's a lot of random elements that occur in that. So I'll get into that in a little bit here when we have fuller boards and it's easier to explain, but you know, just looking at the lay of the land here, imagine there's like a imaginary horizontal line here. Everything above it belongs to the shopkeeper and everything below it belongs to you. Now we don't have anything right now, so we're looking to buy something from the shop up here in the upper part of the screen. What we have listed here are 3 units and 1 ritual. Units are going to be the units that you fill your board with, and they are the things that end up performing the battle phase. Now we only have 2 mana right now. That's listed in the top left. We can see we have 2 out of 2 mana to spend, and you'll always know the cost of something by looking in the upper left portion of the graphic. So this Vampling here costs 2 mana. Both of these Retkins each cost 2. If I wanted to buy this Ritual, better than nothing, it would cost 1. Now, an important thing to keep in mind is you may as well spend as much mana as you can, because none of this mana carries over into the next round. You always get a fresh set of new mana, and as each round occurs, you'll get 1 more max mana to spend. So let's go ahead and just buy one of these. I'll go ahead and just buy this Vampling to keep it, you know, simple here, and we're gonna go ahead and begin the fight. The way I bought that, by the way, is I just left-clicked it and I dragged it down. If for whatever reason I want to sell something back, I can do it the same way. I would just drag it up to the shop and release. I wouldn't want to do that right now though, because things don't sell back at the rate that they are bought. They always sell back for only 1 mana. That's something to keep in mind. So we're in the battle phase right now. Not much will occur here, but we see that I lost the battle because my unit simply just didn't have as good of stats as the enemy unit. So now I used to have 40 health, now I have 38 health. You'll always start with however much health. Right now it's 40, that might change in the future. And once you get to 0, that's it. You are eliminated from this match. Every match will be 8 players. You'll see them all listed on the left-hand side here. We are unfortunately the only player that has taken damage so far, it looks like. But you'll see their health total, their name, and which character they're playing as. And then the other thing you'll also be able to tell is which one you're facing in the upcoming round. So because of this orange highlight and the orange skull there, that signifies that I'm going to be fighting against Basfaratu in my next match. But yeah, that's just something to keep in mind with kind of planning ahead on who you might be fighting. You also have the option, if you have seen them already, you can click on their portrait. It'll randomly show their board if you've seen it. We haven't seen them, obviously, at this point, but that's something you can do. Now, notice how this Vampling is sparkly here. That's because there's a concept of the ability to combine your units into one. Now with just 2 of them I can't do it here, but if I have 3 of them, then they will combine to 1. And when they combine to 1, you're going to get a more powerful version of the unit, but also you're going to have an option to fill these empty slots over here with treasure. Artifacts. You can think of them as treasures. So let's go ahead and just buy the other one here. Now, you'll notice I have 1 extra mana to play around with here, because that only costs 2, and as I said, we gain more mana each round. So, I might as well spend it, because like I said, the mana does not carry over into the next round if I don't spend it. So, you know, it's not like team... you might have played some other auto-battlers like Team Fight Tactics, where you actually keep the gold between rounds. This is not like that. You do not keep the mana, so if you don't use it, you lose it, as they like to say. So I have some options here. I can't afford these units right now because they're 2 and I only have 1, but I could afford this ritual. I buy it the same way that I would buy a unit. I just click it with the left hand click, or the left mouse click, and I drag it, and if I want to buy it, I just release it on one of my units, because this is a targeted spell to give a unit +3 permanently. Or I could instead spend 1 mana to store Purge, which is essentially going to just re-roll me an entire new shop here. So if I didn't like any of these choices, I might as well re-roll it, because I have the option to lock the shop if I like it. You know, Inflame, you could either click this or hit the space bar. You'll notice this red aura around it. I can toggle it on and off. You notice like we had a completely new shop when we started this round. That'll always happen unless I do this. If I do this, all of these things will remain. But I don't particularly care too much to reroll here, because I like this ritual, so I'm going to go ahead and just cast it on my unit. Now, notice that the numbers changed here. So it was a 3 and a 3 before. However, now it's a 3 and a 6. So the left-hand number is always going to be the attack of your unit, and the right-hand number is always going to be the health. Now, units will, you know, sort of attack, they mash together into the other unit, and it'll just do a simple subtraction of the attack from the health on both units. And so, say this Vampling were to attack an enemy Bloodsucker here, you know, they'd mash together, and the 3 attack would easily handle the 1 health there, so that unit would die, but that 2 attack would apply to the Vampling, and then instead of 6 health, it would go down to 4 health. So let's go ahead and start the fight. Another thing to keep in mind is the ordering here. The way it works is the units will attack according to the numerical order here. So my unit in slot 1 will always attack first. Now the target it chooses is completely random, but it will always attack a unit that is in the front row as long as a front row unit exists. So for example, if I wanted to force the enemy to only attack my higher health Vampling, I could position my units like this, because they're only allowed to target this Vampling until this Vampling is dead. They can't actually target this other lower health Vampling. And maybe we will do that for this one. So what's going to happen is, once we start this fight, it'll be a 50-50 on who goes first, and whoever goes first, their unit in their first available slot will attack, and it will attack randomly any unit in the first row. So let's see what it does. So in this case, it was always going to attack that because that guy was stealthed, but if that guy wasn't stealthed, the guy in slot 2 there, I would have attacked 50% of the time either slot 1 or 2. But in my case, they had no chance to attack my Vampling that's in the back here. They would have always attacked this one because I kept it on the front row. And now remember, if I'd put it up here, then it would have been a 50% chance for them to attack either one. This can be important sometimes when you have a unit such as this unit, Hellhound, which kind of enchants other types of units with stats. Now, right now it isn't doing it because these units are not beasts. You can always tell what type of unit is by looking right under their name. This is a small unit, and it's a vampire. This Hellhound is a small unit, it's a demon, and it's a beast. And you can always do that by hovering units in the shop as well. So this Bloodsucker actually has pretty good synergy with everything we have here. So if you read the text on Vampling, it says, on my first attack, give all other units +2 health. Which really isn't anything. However, if you look, note that it is a vampire, right? So what does this Bloodsucker read? It says, gain +2 attack for every other vampire on your board. Well, that's pretty good considering I already have 2 vampires on the board, so why don't we buy that? So not only am I gaining 2 attack for all of these vampires, but also remember my Hellhound gives a effect here where friendly beasts gain +2 and +1. That's always going to be attack on the left, health on the right, so they're gaining 2 attack, 1 health. So this unit, which if we drag it to our bench will show it's like vanilla stats, is just a 2 attack, 1 health unit. But because everything I got going on here, it's a 10 attack, 3 health unit right here. And now, we can think about positioning as well, because do I want to have a Vampling attack first and give health to my units? Or do I want this Bloodsucker to attack first and apply overkill here? You'll see that overkill is listed here, which means excess damage is going to spill over to the units on the row behind the target. So, imagine an enemy 10 attack Bloodsucker attacked me, and say it attacked my Bloodsucker, both units would die, but because that unit has overkill, it would then spill 7 damage, because I only have 3 health here and it has 10 attack. It would spill that over and kill my Hellhound. So that's something to keep in mind. So the Hellhound is usually protected in this case by putting it in the back row here, but if the enemy had overkill, it actually wouldn't be. But we'll go ahead and keep it in the back here anyway, just because it's generally going to be protected back here, as long as overkill doesn't occur. So we see the random attack orders play out. Everything went in my advantage. I do 4 damage to him. Now, how does damage get calculated? Well, it's going to correspond to the number of surviving units I had left over when I won the fight. Or if I lost the fight, the enemy surviving units. And it's always going to be 1 attack per unit, assuming no changes happen. I should make the caveat that it is still beta at this point. Changes could be made, but in general, 1 health per unit surviving plus your unit level is what the damage calculation is. Now we see the Sparkling Vampling here again. Like I talked about, we can have a triple here. Just one other quick note though, you'll notice now this number here reads a 2. That's because I leveled up to the 2nd level. I start at level 1. Every round that goes by, whether I win, lose, or draw, it'll always give me 1 experience, and it is generally going to be 3 experience points to level up. So I gained my 3 experience since we've gone through 3 fights, and now I've leveled up to level 2. So whereas before we always saw only level 2 units in the shop, now I have the capability to also see level 3 units in the shop, which are generally going to be more powerful since they're more expensive. Every time I level up, it'll always unlock an additional level of cost that I can buy from. So let's go ahead and buy this Vampling, and now that we have 3 of them, they're going to combine into 1, and on top of that, it's going to bring up a new screen. So look at that. Select an artifact. This is going to be something that gives you some sort of permanent effect, as long as you have the artifact. Keep in mind, you can only have 3 at any time. I have the option, if I don't like these, to just skip it and refund me 2 mana back. That's always an option. If I want to if I'm not sure on what I want to pick and I want to take a look back at my board, I can click this eyeball up in the top right. So I can maybe look at what's in the shop, look at what's on my board. Maybe something there informs my decision. For instance, Beast Skull, normal size units gain +2 attack. Maybe I think, oh, do I have any normal units? This is small. This is small. This is small, so currently I don't have any. Could I buy any? Well, that one's normal. That one's normal. That one's small. So if I do plan on getting a Clan Lord or a Blighty, yeah, that could work for the Beast Skull, but maybe I just want something that will affect all of my units. This one says all 2 and 3 cost units gain Warrior Tag and 1 attack. I think I like that one better. So now you notice all of my stuff has more attack. Now keep in mind, it isn't always going to improve your situation to combine units necessarily. Because before, I had two separate vamplings, which were 2 different vampires, which gave the Bloodsucker more attack. On top of that, my Silverbeak here gives +2/1 for every pair of units you have on board. So now I don't have a pair anymore. So like I actually lost some stats on this Bloodsucker for doing this, but that's a trade-off that you make sometimes. I have 3 mana, so if I don't like these, I can reroll them, but I can already see that this Clan Lord's probably a good take here, right? Because it would be another vampire for this Bloodsucker, so let's go ahead and just take that. Then I don't have any more money. As always, I can lock it or not. And that's really the basics. You know, I can show a few more things just to outline a few mechanics, but in general, everything is very well typed out usually when you hover over a unit. You just have to read it, and you know, everything is, if you've ever played like Magic the Gathering, the concept of, I think it's called like strongly typed, don't quote me on that, but like, you know, the unit will do what it says, and the effects will do what it says. You got to take them quite literally. But yeah, hopefully this this gets you going. I think it will. I'll go ahead and just play a few examples of some of the other stuff you might encounter. So there's Assassin, which ignores the default targeting restrictions and will specifically target the unit with the least health first. Now that doesn't matter if there's a tank on the board, it doesn't matter if the enemy is in the back line, it will always target it. The only exception there is if the unit has stealth, it will avoid the assassin attack. There's also End, which will occur whenever your unit is attacking and it kills the target unit. Keep in mind that doesn't mean that this will trigger if you get attacked and you kill the unit. This only triggers if your unit is the one making the attack. And whatever is associated with that end trigger will happen. In this case, for the Grek, it will just give him 1 attack permanently. There's Overkill, which means the excess damage, if you're attacking, will be applied to a random unit in the row behind the original target. Keep in mind this only triggers if you're attacking somebody in the front row. You know, if you attack a unit in the back row, it obviously won't do anything. But if you are attacking, keep in mind you have to be the one making the attack, not the one getting attacked. If you make the attack and you kill the unit, and you still have excess damage, it's going to spill over to a random target in the back row. So, you know, we see 8 kill, or 8 attack on this under guardsman here. If I happen to fight a unit that has, say, 5 health, it will take, and I kill it, it'll take the 3 remaining damage that was left over, you know, 8 minus 5, and then it'll apply it to the back line. So as we see here, 8, and then since that guy only had 2 health, 6 damage was done to the back. And also, The overkill damage does not care if the unit is stealthed or not, obviously, as we saw there. And here we get the kill with our Grek, thus giving him permanent damage. So hidden will make it so when you're attacked, the hidden units will not be targeted unless they're the only units left on the board. And that also is true, say I lose these two units right here, the Underguardsman and this Grek. If this thing's still stealthed, even though it's in the front line, the enemies will attack the back line because they can't see this unit until it attacks. So once this water elemental does attack, then it will lose its stealth. So let's see this in action. So they attack. They had no chance of attacking this. Now they cannot attack this, so they will always attack Grek. Well, okay. I lied because that unit bypasses the targeting, but as we see here, it attacks the Grek. And then once they attack, they lose the stealth. It loses the Great Border, and then it can be attacked as normal. Well, I think this should be enough to get you started. We don't, like I said, we don't need to get super into the weeds here. This is really the basics of it, and we can get into more of the deeper mechanics perhaps in some later videos, but this one should really have you covered at the moment. So get out there and get to fighting.